Okay, that's fine. Good evening, Ram. So here is our dashboard. What we are going to cover it. Yesterday we discussed a couple of things about how we are going to start our training, what are all the roles and responsibilities of a database engineer, and the history of SQL Server, and as well as a couple of modules. One is security, availability concepts like clustering, log shipping, mirroring, along with automation. Few points regarding performance tuning as well. So in our training, I'm going to cover all these concepts. So today, as we discussed yesterday, today I'll deal with you how to install SQL Server, what are all the questions will come in SQL Server, how we have to reduce the performance tuning while installing SQL Server, what are all the prerequisites before installing SQL Server. Let me
Okay.
let me open Notepad so that it's going to be pretty easy for
Okay.
you. So
Okay.
before installing SQL Server, we need to ensure we do have these following checklist and prerequisites. Prerequisites to install SQL Server. This
Okay.
is very important question. So if you know, you can mention. If you don't know, then I'll make a note here.
Okay.
The first thing is, what do you require? It's a ISO
SQL
image
image of
is required. Either it is a ISO image or disk or like whatever, because every company is like, every company, they do have their own strategy, right? For example, few companies, they will give you ISO image, few companies, they will give you like others, like hard disk, external hard disk. Few companies, they'll keep
mm,
the operating system or software in their remote location, and they'll ask you to open that ISO image and log in from directly from the remote server. That's all depends on the clients, depends on the project. But in our case, I'll give you the ISO image of SQL Server while installing, before installing. The next one is,
అంటే ISO image అంటే నాకు అంటే కొంచెం ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయగలను
I'll explain you
ISO
while showing. I'll
ఓకే
tell you what is.
ఓకే
I understand your question. You are asking
ఓకే
what is ISO image, right? It's a
ఓకే
disk. It's external disk. You are attaching it as a .iso image. Image is like, for example, it's a disk, external hard disk. For example, in older days, if you want to watch movie, you need one DVD or CD, right? So instead
ఎస్
of that CD, we are giving one software as a disk. That is called as
ఓకే
ISO disk. Even the
ఓకే
provisional word is called as image.
image ఓకే
Yes, externally you can attach that ISO image to your laptop or to your operating system wherever you are installing SQL Server. You can externally attach this image as an external software. I can say it as a software.
ఓకే ఓకే
Nothing to worry, it's just software.
సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఓకే
Yes.
యా
Which software? SQL Server database software.
ఓకే అండి SQL Server
So
database
.NET framework. I'll make it as a shortcut. That is .NET framework.
ఓకే
2.5 is a mandatory. That is a
ఓకే
version. Even you can have 3.5 and 4 version also you can have. That's all up to you. Okay.
ఓకే
This is mandatory. .NET framework. Other one
ఓకే
is you should be able to run as administrator software. So I'll make it a
ఓకే
shortcut. Admin rights on mission.
ఓకే admin rights mission ఓకే
Next one is key, license key. Who will give license key? Either your manager or procurement team or accountant team or like Windows admin or like some of the guys who will take care of this operating system who purchase from Microsoft, they'll share the license key to you.
Okay.
Okay, there will be like
Okay.
the infrastructure team also will be in your company, they'll give you the license key to you. It all depends on the organization. In my company, who will give license key to me? It's a Windows team will purchase from the infrastructure team and they'll share the license key to me. Then only you will
Okay.
get a enterprise edition or dev edition. Express is a free tier version.
Okay.
I hope you know, right?
Yeah. అవునండి.
Express is a free tier version.
Hmm.
So enterprise and dev is like, it's a paid version, it's not a free tier version. So we have to purchase a license key from who will give this license key? From Microsoft.
We have to take from Microsoft.
Yes, absolutely.
From
Because I mean, infra team will be taken care from the, they will be take from the Microsoft, will purchase from the Microsoft infra or Windows team, Windows
Okay.
admin or
Okay.
whoever it is.
Okay.
They'll purchase from Microsoft and they'll give it to you. Hope it is making sense,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And the next important thing is where you want to install your OS, sorry, your SQL server, database server, where you want to install it. Is it on C drive or D drive or E drive? Data directory folders or path. I can call it as a data directory paths.
Data directory.
Because blindly you cannot install it, right? You have to talk with your manager or your tech lead or team lead, and as well as you wanted to talk with your application team, and then only you are pretty good enough to take a decision. And you can always provide like most advanced and as well as most important recommendation to your team. Like you can say them to keep log file in one different drive, data files will be in different drive, tempdb will be in different drive. It's all like you have to convenience them. You have to explain what are all the advantages if you keep in different folders, different disks, external disks, right? You have to convince your team. The next thing, as I told you, what kind of services you have to install. I can say it as services or features. SQL is one service, but what kind of services you want to install? Like services in the sense, it's like a database engine.
SIS.
Absolutely, you know pretty well. SSIS, SSRS, SS analysis, etc. There is a replication. There are lots of replication, like some other like SSMS, the studio. These are all etc. I don't want to tell you pretty much on it, but just giving basic idea. What kind of features you want to install? Because you required hard disk and RAM based on the features what you're going to select.
Okay.
For example, if you want to install all database engine and as SSIS, SSRS, SSAS, and replication, SSMS, etc., you need extra hard disk and extra RAM. Hard disk means it's a storage, right?
Right.
Next thing is, for example, if you want to install it on D disk, what you require? Hard disk also should be.
Yeah.
That is called as storage. Without this, you cannot do it. The minimum requirement is RAM. It depends on your client. For example, if your application is the two largest application, then they will be having 32 GB. Okay, I'm sorry. 32, it all depends on your client and your project. For example, some of the clients will go to the 62 GB. Some of the clients only will work on it on 16 GB. For example, if you have if your voice is 16 GB, then you need to assign 80% RAM to the 80% RAM to which one? RAM need to be assigned to the SQL Server database. Okay, then only it will functioning well. Okay, for example, if you have 16 GB, what is 18 GB? 18 GB, like it's around 12 GB, you will give it for SQL Server. Remaining, excuse me,
Yeah.
remaining 4 GB will be assigned to the operating system.
Okay.
Because operating system also required RAM, then only it can operate all the services which are running in that particular object, particular box, particular operating system, particular mission. Okay, without
Okay.
dedicating external, RAM, the mission will not work. If you assign, for example, 16 GB to SQL Server, then absolutely, you're going to kill your Windows box. So you have to dedicate 80% of RAM to SQL Server, 20% of RAM to the operating system. That's a Windows box. Either it's Windows or
Operating.
Linux or virtual
Oh.
machine or whatever it is. Okay. The next
Okay.
coming to the point, as I told you, you should be having admin rights. The remaining these are all the pretty important things you need to make sure you should be having. These are all the prerequisites to install your SQL Server.
Okay.
We can also call it as a checklist. Getting the point?
Checklist.
Yeah, getting the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's all. Like people will decide. And it's another thing is 1880 GB to SQL Server. It is based on the Microsoft recommendations. Because 80% of RAM to the SQL Server is because it's a Microsoft recommendations.
Okay.
Right? Because it's the best practices. Microsoft best practice is to assign 80% of RAM to the SQL Server, remaining 20% of RAM to the Windows machine.
Okay.
Hope it is making sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any questions on it, Ram?
No. 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 No.
You don't have any questions, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can I start with installation process?
Yes. Yes. Please go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. Another thing is the last point is make sure you disable firewalls,
Okay.
Windows firewalls. Otherwise, it's not mandatory. It's optional. I'm keeping it as optional. It's optional for you.
Okay.
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 The above these points are all like 90% are mandatory. Even some, if you don't have ISO image, you cannot install SQL Server. If you have everything as per these prerequisites, then only you are good to go and install SQL Server. All right. I'm going to close this and I'll start my disk image. Just a minute. Let me refresh my box. Okay, awesome. So now let's go back to my file explorer. There is one ISO image. One is externally attached to my Windows machine. Can you able to see that? It's just a software.
Yes. Yes.
It's a
Okay.
software. Okay. So as I told
Mm.
you, this is, you're not going to do anything on it. Your Windows team and your infrastructure team will give you this software to you, to your installation mission. For example, you are installing this SQL Server on XYZ mission, that is a destination mission. They'll attach this software into that destination mission. Making sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So always, not only this particular software, even if you go to any of the other products while installing,
Mm.
make sure and ensure you just need to run it as an administrator. Then only you can able to run everything as it will run everything as your expectations. Otherwise, you will run it as some permissions. Otherwise, it will trigger an error stating that you don't have rights to install this machine. There are a lot of blah blah blah. You will get it. Okay. Always just ensure
Okay.
you run it as an administrator. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Just right click on
Yes.
this setup mission. These are all metadata information. The
Mm.
rules, resources, some of the 1030 through see some
Tools.
LPs and PC source and Redshift. These are all like external resources. You don't need to bother about it. Who will take care of it? Microsoft will give this ISO image to you. You are just purchasing
Okay.
this operating system from this SQL Server operating system. I can say it as a software you're purchasing from the Microsoft directly. Hope it
Okay.
makes sense, right? So always ensure
Yeah.
you are running as a administrator.
Run as administrator. Okay.
Yes, right. So just right click as an administrator. So if you click on it, obviously you will trigger there is an auto pop-up window, that is you wanted to allow this app to make changes of your particular Windows device. Click yes. You can ensure,
Okay.
you can check the lot of details like who is the manufacturer, what is the product name, what we are going to do. These are all you can check it. You need to ensure 2 minutes you have to wait, then only it will. Can you see it here? The
Yes. Yes. Pop up.
2014 version. I'll drag it a little
Okay.
down so that you can watch it clearly. These are all coming into the planning. For
Planning.
example, these are all the requirements as we discussed a couple of minutes ago.
Hardware.
These are all the software and hardware requirements. We can call it as a prerequisites. We can call it as a checklist. We can call it as the requirements. If you do have all this set of prerequisites, then only you can able to install your SQL machine, SQL operating system. Okay. Right. So here nothing to do.
Okay.
Here nothing to do. This is just like, if you click on it here, it will navigate to the Google like default browser. Either it is Internet Explorer or Google or Mozilla Firefox, whatever it is. It will give you the details of the
Mm-hmm.
release notes. You don't need to know about it. If you know, that's advantage. If you don't know, that's fine. But we are here to install it, right? We are not going to plan anything here. We are not architectures here. We are
Yeah.
just here to planning. Our plan is to install SQL Server. So the left side there is an installation button. Click on installation. What we are installing Ram now?
Standalone.
Yes. So I hope you know there are two SQL Server types. One is cluster, other one is a standalone. Standalone means there is no dependency. Cluster means it's a active and passive. It's a Windows cluster failover along with the SQL Server failover.
Okay.
So now the first option is standalone.
Mm.
The second one is cluster.
Mm.
Third one is, for example, you already installed a cluster. You want to add a new node to your cluster.
Mm.
The fourth one is, for example, you are using 2012 version, which is a little older. You want to upgrade into 2016 or 2017 or 2019 version, SQL
Mm.
Server version. So you can upgrade by using this executable file. This is called as executable file. This is also called as ISO image. So this is ISO image.
Okay.
This is executable or setup file, whatever you would like to. Okay. So now I'm just going to click on standalone installations. Next, it will take you to the maintenance plan.
Okay. Maintenance.
Yeah. So it's taking. Yeah. Can you see here? What you can see here?
Edition.
Yes. So pre-tier version is this is the one.
Yeah. Value.
Either
Okay.
evaluation or express. Express is 6 months
Express.
validity. This is also one question. I
Mm.
installed Express Edition. So how many days expiry date for this Express Edition? How many months? Either day or months. That is one
6 months.
interview question.
Okay.
After six
Okay.
months, after 6 months, you cannot able to work on this particular server because it's only Express. It's a free tier box. There is no paid version on it, so it's a free. So now I'm going to install standalone along with Express
Okay.
Edition, sorry, Enterprise Edition.
Enterprise
Enterprise
edition.
edition
Okay.
is required. License key. Can you able to see my screen here?
Yes,
I
yes.
just wanted to enter my license key here. So
Okay.
just 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So here I just entered my license key. I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So here there are some license terms and conditions. It's a Microsoft standard policy. You just need to ensure always I accept the license terms and conditions. You don't need to click on turn on the customer experience. It's up to you. This is comes under improvement program. There is no profit for you. This is you are giving reports, improvement reports to the Microsoft. If you enable this option, then only you will get it. If you're not enabling these options, you're not going to
Okay.
provide any help to improve their quality and reliability on the performance related issues. It's not required for me. I don't want this one. It's up to you. Either you can enable or disable. It's not a mandatory, it's optional. This is just one
Okay.
program, improvement program. You are going to help the Microsoft to improve their quality along with their reliability related to the performance. Okay. This one is
Okay.
mandatory. The acceptance
Hmm.
terms and conditions definitely. Then only the next option will be enabled. Can you see? Can you able to click on the next?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
The
Next.
disable now.
No.
If you
Ah.
click on this option, next is available now. Okay. Click on the
Okay.
next. Now it will check all the rules and everything. This option also, it's like use Microsoft updates to check for updates. So this also optional. As you can see, it's a recommended, but sometimes it's not advisable because if you're running on production mission, then automatically it will check the updates. It will reboot your SQL Server mission. If it is rebooting, then obviously your application will goes down, right?
Yes. Yes.
So as per
So it's not
Microsoft, it is
recommended.
recommended. As per Microsoft, it is recommended. But as per
Okay.
my general knowledge, if you're working on the production box, if you're working on any of application production box, it's not recommended. It's not at all recommended.
Oh.
I don't want to
Okay.
click on this
Okay.
option because
No.
auto update sometimes it will kill your SQL Server. Sometimes even if you install updates after rebooting mission, server will not come in immediately.
Okay.
So ourselves intentionally we are keeping ourselves into trouble. So I don't want to click on it. Click on the next. It will check is there any specific updates for this particular. It will also check all the rules whether it is .NET is installed, Windows firewalls are enabled or not. Can you see everything is passed? It will by default it will check. Even you
Okay.
can generate a report, detailed report you can generate and you can watch it later. But there is
Okay.
nothing to watch in it. Whatever you are seeing it will clearly stated over in this report.
Hmm.
Now there is one
It's
box.
warning.
It's a warning. It's not error. If it is error
Error.
here,
Okay.
if it is error here, then the next you cannot able to click it. This is just a warning.
Okay.
So it's up to you. Either you can disable it, or if you disable it, for example, I'll show you what is error warning here. It's a Windows firewall. How to
Windows
disable
firewall.
Windows firewall? Do you know how to disable Windows firewall?
Inbound rules. Something.
Yes. So here there is inbound and outbound rules. Can you able to see here Windows
Oh.
Defender firewall properties? You can make it off,
Okay.
and the same private and
Okay.
domain everything you need to make it off, and as well as this also. Okay.
Okay.
I made it three. One is the domain
Okay.
profile,
Okay.
private, and as well as public. Just a minute. So after that, you
Okay.
need to make sure you just click the apply button. Click OK. Okay. So
Okay.
now
Okay.
here
Hmm.
it should be refreshed, right? It should say that past. You should rerun it. Then only it will show as past. There is an option called rerun it. So
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
So everything is passed now. Earlier, Windows firewalls are
Awesome.
warning,
Hmm.
but now it is passed. So click next button,
Hmm.
set the role. So here, this is just like selection of the roles. What are all the features you want? It's just kind of setting up the roles in your SQL Server. Just this one installation is enough for us.
Okay.
Next one is very much important. I'll extend this folder. Okay. So now,
Okay.
what do you want to do? You wanted to select based on
Database.
that. Yes, based on that. Here it will increase the RAM and it will display everything, including hard disk, how much is required, what are all the prerequisites for selected feature, and what is the disk space required for this. How much C drive is required for this? 1 over
1058
58
MB
MB.
required.
Make it as 1 GB. Let it be 1 GB. Okay.
Oh,
Now I will click
1 GB.
something SQL Server replication is required for us. If I click it here, the space will automatically increase because I'm selecting another extra feature. Okay, even the RAM also will include. These are all under part of database engine service. That is why it is not increasing here. See here, there is under this database engine service, these three subpart. That is why database engine service only required 1058 MB. If I click analysis service, I did not select it. I just highlighted it. If I selected it, obviously now see how much it is increased. Almost around 500 gigabytes is increased. Right? Yeah. But for me, analysis service is not required. Even reporting service also not required because I'm not a database developer. I'm a database administrator. Next, connecting tools is mandatory. Integration service also I don't want. Client tools backup compatibility. SDK, it's a software developing kit. SDK shortcut is software developing kit. Documentation components, for example, this is only install the components that you use to view and manage the documentation for SQL Server, what you're going to install. For example, if you selected some of the any feature in 2014, it's going to give you the documentation for that particular component. That's up to you. Either you can select it or not. Next, it's a pretty much important management tools. What do you mean by management tools? SSMS.
Okay.
What is SSMS?
SQL Server Management Studio.
Yes. So shortcut is SSMS. Right? Okay. So now, if you're forgetting to select this option, you will not get SSMS. You can able to connect SQL Server. You can able to connect by using other mechanism like CLI. CLI is like command line interface. By using commands, Unix PowerShell, Linux PowerShell, you can able to connect it. Even by using Excel also you can connect to SQL Server. There are n number of options for you to connect to SQL Server. This is one of the interview question. This is one of the interview question. I forgot to install management SSMS. How can I connect? I finished installation. How can I able to connect? This is one question. So how you will answer to your question? To interview question.
CLI?
Yes, through CLI or by using Excel. There is an option by using Excel as well. Okay. PowerShell also you can able to connect. Those are all by using commands. But SSMS is like graphical user interface. If you don't know any Linux, if you don't know any CLI commands, if you don't know any Unix commands, then you just fire up the SSMS, just give the server name, username, and password. That's it. You don't require any coding if you wanted to work with the SSMS. That is why this is pretty much important. Next, this one distributed. This is not related to us. This is orchestration of the actions distributed replay client. That is not required for us. This is also not required for database administrator. This is important because as I told you, for example, SDK is software development kit. It's going to help you when you're working with linked servers because linked servers, these are all works with OLEDB. Okay, so this database application development process, so you just enable it. Next, master database, this is also optional for you. This is also related to, but anyways, I'll enable it. Okay,
Hmm.
this is like we never work pretty much with the master database service, data service. That is a different one, because this is mainly usable for the organizations, not for us. Just
Okay.
to ensure accuracy and auditing process. This is not for us. Okay, but anyways, you can do it.
Okay.
Okay, that's up to you.
Hmm.
That's up to you whether you want it
Okay.
or not. The next question is,
Hmm.
I selected all the required features. Now, can you see how much uh,
2 5.
the C is increased?
Yeah.
It will give you the clear picture, like this much free space is available, this much is required for me to install.
Hmm.
Even this is also one kind of interview question. How much hard disk is required to install SQL Server? Minimum hard disk. Minimum
Okay.
hard disk is 1 GB is mandatory.
1 GB. 1 GB.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's. I hope you know that. Initially, when I was selecting only database engine service, you were able to see only one no some 53, some around 1 GB.
Yeah.
But now it is
Uh,
increased,
hmm.
right? So other thing is,
Yes.
as you know, by default, the folder will be in
C
C drive,
drive.
but I don't
Hmm.
want to keep anything on C drive. Why? Can you tell me why?
The performance issues. Yeah.
Performance issue. The other thing is, if your if your Windows box is corrupted, that's it. Your database server also gone.
Okay. Okay.
If server is hacked or something happened wrong with like C drive corrupted, or like
Hmm.
performance also, even Windows will be, everything was installed on C drive because C is the heart of the Windows. That's a
Those.
mandatory. External disk is like D, E. That's all like optional. You are configuring external disks. C
Hmm.
is the main root directory. In officially, we'll call it as a root directory. We will call it as a root disk.
Okay.
In AWS, in Azure, we'll call it as a root directory. But in SQL
Hmm.
Server, we'll call it as a root disk. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll keep instance directory in a different folder. I'll create a different folder. So can you able to click on this? Yes, you can click. Next,
Yes.
there are some disks in my machine. Even you will also get the same thing. There is a D disk here. That is the name. I call it as a personal. I'll make a new folder. SQL root installation. Okay. I created one folder there. I given it as a
Okay.
folder. You can click, and you can click also slash. That's optional for you. The next one is shared
Okay.
feature directory. These also are up to you. You can keep everything in the same, but if you want, you can change it. That's all up to you. Okay, but everything I'll keep it in a D drive.
Okay.
Later, I'll tell you where to keep data files and log files. But as per Microsoft,
Okay.
their recommendation is to keep everything in a C drive, but I don't keep everything because that's all risk for me. Okay, so this one, even you can keep
It's
it
a
in
possible. Okay.
you can, that's not an issue, because you can make it in this, you can keep it in E drive, this you can keep it in F drive. That's all. This is like installation metadata
Okay.
information only. You are not going to keep data file, MDB files in different location. I'll tell you where to change those files location. That's
Okay.
also one of the interview question.
Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So just a minute, I'll keep everything in the C drive. Just a minute. There is one error. I think I'll click on it. Okay.
Okay.
So replication and as well as integrations, data quality, connecting, client tools, management. Okay, that's it. So here, what it is going to trigger an error is related to, there is a parameter must we need to evaluate. So let it be on C drive. I'll keep it in C drive for now. Let's see. So here, no, let's go back. Here, programmable files. Where is that? Okay, MS Office, Microsoft SQL Server. So under that, you're working on, okay, let it be. see if it is not working, then I'll change it. Okay, for example, there is a validation error. What is that validation? Shared and installation. Okay, not an issue. Both should not be the same. I'll click on it. So this is also how to troubleshoot while installing. This is also one kind of issue, right? I'm changing the different locations and see.
Yeah.
Let me again check the next. If it is, now see, where is the error? Because shared feature directory and shared feature directory 86 also should not be the same. It should be the different folders.
Okay. Okay.
That is why it's error.
Okay.
So while installing, if you get these kind of errors, you need to ensure you need to change the different location. Then it will pass. Because
Okay.
64-bit feature is different, 86 feature is the different. The next one, instance configuration. So here there are two names. One is a default, other one is a named instance.
Default is named.
Default is like MSSQL server. Named means you are manually giving name. So what I can give you, node 1 or node 2, whatever it is. Huh? Otherwise,
Okay.
I'll give it as primary node. This is my server name. So I given here as primary node. Just click anywhere, automatically this instance ID also will change it.
Okay.
It will change automatically. See, I did not do anything. Manually it is changed. Because instance
Okay.
ID, this is the one, primary node 1. Right? Where this SQL server is residing, by default, this is the MSSQL 12 primary node 1. But there will be a separate folder which is in the C drive. Okay. Default means it will take it as a MSSQL server. Named instance means we are manually defining the names for the server name. Now, interview question is, what is a default instance? What is a named instance? How many instance types also you may get question. One is a default mode, other one is a named mode. What is the difference? Default means it's a Microsoft SQL Server default name. Named means manually we can able to rename it. You can, whatever you can give it, like you can give RAM, you can give Giri, or you can give any kind of IT training or SQL Server training, whatever the primary node, primary server, active node, passive node, whatever you would like, you can give. Okay. So click next.
Okay.
So you need to wait for the next page. It will take a couple of minutes. So now, one thing I would like to tell you, we selected a couple of services. One is agent service, database engine service, integration service, along with the browser is by default. You don't need to select anywhere. You will not get a chance to select browser. I'll tell you what is the use of browser later on. Next, account name. In our project, in any of the client, you will get a default generic account ID. Generic account ID. That generic ID should be able to have admin rights. They should be able to start and stop the service. You need to change account names here, right? But I'm giving it as a default because I don't want to change. I don't have any some other logins. Let it be as a default. These account names will be default. SQL Server will generate for you based on the feature, based on the service. Can you see it here? This is the agent service, right? The above one is agent service. The account name also starts with SQL agent. This is database engine, MSSQL server. This is also see MSSQL. This is integration, MSDTS. It's a DTS service. Even the browser also you can see it's a local service. You don't need to set the password. By default, if you're giving any account names, then only it will ask you to change the password. But now it is disabled because we are not going to give any, we're not giving any here accounts here. Can you see it here?
No.
By default, I'm enabling it.
Default.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, when you're working on the production, when you're working on any some other applications, the startup type should be always automatic. What is the
Okay.
difference between, there are three options. One is automatic, disable and manual. Manual
Okay.
means, for example, by any chance, this particular Windows mission, either restarted or shut down in the during night hours. Maybe tomorrow you, while starting your Windows box, automatically SQL services will not start. Keep in
Okay.
mind, this is also one interview question. Startup type should be always automatic. If you're keeping as a manual, when Windows box is running up, when Windows box is spinning up, automatically server will be automatically runs. If you're keeping it as automatic, if you're keeping as a manual, then this agent service will not start automatically. You have to go and start it manually. Are you getting the point?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense, right? Automatic means
Yes.
automatically SQL service will start. If it is a
Will
manual
start.
means you have to do
We
manual
need
to
to
start.
start.
Yeah,
Okay.
clear, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The next option is collation. Collation is also one question. What do you mean by collation? Collation is like, it's a case insensitive. Like every country, they do have their own languages, right?
Okay.
Some people work on the French, some people knows English, some people works on British, some other language. So they can able to customize their own collation. Here there is an option to customize. If you want to change it to
Okay.
some other, you can change it, but let it be whatever it is there, let it be. It's like case insensitive. CA means case insensitive. Okay.
Case.
Yeah, let it be. It's like
Okay.
related to the language English, that's it.
Case
So for
insensitive.
example,
Okay.
if you want your SQL server needs to be in capital, you have to change it here. If your table name should be in capital, it could be, you need to change the customer. Later also you can do it. It's all for
Okay.
non-unique code data. Later also you can change it. There is nothing to worry about it. Okay. So now
Okay.
this particular service account ID, your doubts all cleared. You know pretty much about it. Collation,
Mm.
interview question is, what is a collation? Collation is like a case insensitive. It's just selecting what kind of, whether you required case insensitive or sensitive or late in general or accent sensitive, what kind of language you required. That is called as
Okay.
collation. Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
going to click next. I'll go to the next page. Okay. Next, interview question is, how many authentication modes in SQL Server? What are those?
Two more.
One
Windows
is
mixed.
Windows authentication mode, other one is mixed mode. So
Mixed.
Windows
Okay.
authentication mode, in the sense, what do you mean by Windows authentication mode? Windows authentication mode means it is like whoever has access in Windows box, this particular Windows box in my laptop, they can able to access my SQL server.
Okay.
Whoever does not have access to my Windows box, they cannot able to
They,
log into this particular SQL server. If you select Windows authentication, if you select mixed mode, which is the combination of SQL Server authentication as well as Windows authentication.
SQL Server authentication.
Windows
Windows edition.
authentication means
Okay.
whoever is able to log into this Windows box, they can able to access your SQL Server. It's pretty simple. Whoever able to access this particular Windows machine, they can able to access SQL Server database as well. That is the Windows. But mixed mode means Windows users can able to access, SQL Server users also can able to access. Is it clear or still doubt?
Yeah. No. Clear. Clear.
It's an interview question. How many kinds of
Mm.
authentication modes? You have to make sure you need to answer it. One is Windows authentication mode, other one is a mixed mode.
Okay.
So you need to say the correct answer. They'll ask you what is the difference between both. You need to say Windows means Windows users can able to access SQL Server as well. They don't need to give any password manually. I'll show you while logging into the SQL Server.
Okay.
But SA users, they need to provide username along with the
Account
password. SA user will never
password.
be having access to the Windows box. They are the only part of
Okay.
SQL box.
Okay.
Okay, so I selected always
Yes.
best practice, always highly recommendable is to select mixed mode. Now provide the
Okay.
password. This password is for whom? This password is for SA account. SA means system administrator. By default, you will get a login SA. Can you see it here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
SA. It's a system administrator. This particular login will be having admin rights on particular Windows, particular SQL server. This guy will not be able to access to this Windows box. This person only can able to access this particular SQL server. He is the super user. I'll call it as a super system administrator user. You need to provide
Okay.
this password. You need to make sure you are providing a correct password. There is an option called add current user. Add current user means my laptop login
Windows.
ID is a current user. If you
Okay.
click on it, automatically it will see this is Naveen. Naveen is my brother login ID. It's captured.
Okay.
If you want to add any other ID, yes, you can click on add button or search here. For example, RAM. This RAM needs to be in this particular mission
Okay.
already. Then only it will visible.
Okay.
Are you getting the point?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This login ID already should be a part of Windows. Then only you can able to add it here. If there is no login ID in this Windows mission, you cannot able to add it here. Okay. So next one
Okay.
is data directory. Is it making sense? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. It's clear, right? If you have any questions, you can
Clear.
stop me and ask me doubts.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. So now this is
Okay.
configuration. We are pretty clear on it. So next one, go to the data directory.
Yeah.
As I told you, by default, everything will be on C drive. But
Yeah.
I don't want to keep data directory will be on C drive only. That is just like software installation. But data file, can you see here? User database files, so
Database
database log
directory.
file
Is log
directory,
directory.
tempdb again
Temp
have data and log backup and
log
the log drive directory
backup
and the
directory.
other one backup directory as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my directories.
Okay.
You can select it here. So what I'll do is I'll make sure I'll close this. I'll open my Explorer directly. I'll make sure you understand very clearly. So here, how many drives you can see? One is C, D, E,
C.
F. So in
Yeah.
D drive, I'll keep one data. I'll keep some
Folder.
external folder. I think it's not making sense. I think my mouse is not working. Okay, it's worked. So SQL data, or you
Data.
can keep it as
Data.
whatever the
Okay.
naming convention is up to you.
Okay.
So here data files here.
Log.
I'll create a new folder. So here SQL
Log.
log. Okay, now go back to the Explorer here. I'll keep it a new folder. This is for tempdb for both tempdb log file and data file. I'll keep it in same.
Okay.
But in production, again, you have to make sure you need to keep it in different locations. But we don't have that many disks. That is why I'm giving only everything in the same disk. MDB data and log file in the
Okay.
same disk. So this one is for, can you tell me why I'm creating another folder?
Backup.
Yes. That's nice. So what I have done is, so far here I created data file, here I created log file, here I created backup file. Now
Template.
let's go back to the wizard. Click on here. In D drive, we created a data file.
Data file.
Okay, that's a folder.
Hmm.
And next one is log file. It's on E disk. Can you see it here?
Okay. Log.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
D data files will be in E drive. Log files will be tempdb files on external disk. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. need to click on here. Okay, here it is. Okay, both automatically it will capture for both here. If you look at here, data directory and as well as DB log file, both will change automatically. See, both automatically changed.
Okay.
But I have changed it to only
Yeah.
for MDB data file, but automatically it changed it for log files as well. Next one is backup directory. Later also you can change it. It's not mandatory now. Later also you can. I created one separate folder that is called as backups, right? You can select that as well. So now everything is done. This is how you need to do it in your production box. This is how you would need to do it in your real-time environment.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on it? If you keep on different folder, because data read and the input and output will be little faster.
Okay.
Yesterday we discussed one person can handle 50 kg, but 4 people can handle 200 kg, right?
Yeah.
So because 4 disks we do have, why can't we utilize the 4 disks? In your production, you may have 6 or 7 disks. In such a case, the Y drive will be for always D for data file, E for log file, F is for MDB, Y is for backups, Z is for your normal usage, daily rotational usage in your local server. Okay, it's all based on the real-time project I'm talking about. Okay, the next one is file stream. Nobody will enable it. It's not mandatory, so nothing to worry about it. So it will, kill the performance. So I don't want to enable it. So I'll click on the next. Till now, do you have any confuses or questions, Ram?
No.
Okay.
Clear.
So now this is one way of summary. You had selected a lot of it's enterprise. Can you see it here? I had entered my license key. It's very costly license key. The license cost is around 4 lakhs for me. I purchased for 4 lakhs.
Okay.
So the product update and the prerequisites, the PowerShell, .NET framework, yesterday I have installed it. It's a mandatory one is the 3.5. 4 is up to you. You may have it or that's up to you. So Visual Studio, these are all like selection features, whatever you selected. Okay. The next very important is, this is the one. Okay. After installing, you want to know whether it is successfully installed or failed. How to figure it out whether my SQL server is successfully installed it or not. Okay. There is a summary. I'll show you to later. You just copy this location. There is one summary folder in it. If you open the summary folder, it will clearly tell you installation is successfully completed. It's a green mark. It's a passed. If it is any error, it will display that is similar kind of one summary configuration file. Okay. So this is just one way of summary. I'll click install. So now thing is, it may take minimum 35 to 45 minutes minimum.
Okay.
So if you will be available, you can. If you just a minute. Sometimes it may go a little faster, like 20 minutes. Sometimes based on the RAM, based on the operating system, based on SQL Server version you are selecting, and also if you select a lot of features, it may take a little extra while, right? But I have selected little features like only database engine service and replication and SSMS and documentation and data quality client. So it may fast finish it up within 20 minutes. But anyways, I'll pass this recording and I'll stop sharing. I mean, sharing will be, but I'll pass this recording because why to?
Okay.
So there is one error triggered here. The thing is like following error has occurred. The previous installation required a reboot of the machine for changes to take effective. To proceed, restart your computer and then set up again. So if I click, it will reboot it. Again, the installation will take automatically. That's how it needs to be. That is how now we fixed 3 issues here. One is Windows firewall, other one is path location error, the other one is it's required reboot. So we fixed 3 issues.
Okay.
So in interview they will ask you what kind of errors you will get it while installing. So who has to say that answers? You only need to say the answers.
Yeah. Yes.
In the
Yeah.
interview questions, their interview question will be, while installing SQL Server, what kind of errors you will get it? So now 3 issues. One is Windows.NET will be, other one is firewalls. If you disable it, it may get a warning. That's not an error, but that is warning. That is not mandatory. That is an optional. You can keep it as an optional. So these are all like pretty easy for you to keep it in mind or document it. You can make it as a document. You have to make it in your own document. So make these options, because tomorrow or day after tomorrow, if I ask you what kind of errors we get it in install while installing, you may forget it. I'm absolutely pretty sure on it. Okay.
Document. Okay.
Yeah. So this is very easy. I click reboot my mission. If I reboot my mission, our meeting will cancel automatically.
Yes.
Nothing to worry. I'll take care of this installation. You know pretty much how to install it. What kind of questions you will get it on the installation part, right?
Yeah.
So if you have any questions on it, please ask me, Ram. Even you can make it as your questions in document or something notebook, and tomorrow also you can ask me. It's up to you.
అదే అనుకుంటా. ఇప్పుడు వరకు ఓకే అండి, నాకు ఏం లేదు, డౌట్స్ ఏమి లేదు.
ఓకే.
బట్ ఇప్పుడు నేను కూడా కొంచెం ఏమన్నా నాకు అంత ముందు జరిగినట్లేదు కొంచెం చూసి ఏమన్నా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయంటే నేను ప్రిపేర్ చేసుకుంటాను.
Definitely make it the questions in your. Sure, definitely. It takes another half an hour, so I don't want you to keep on waiting on half an hour, because it's already late night for you. So I'm going to end this meeting. You know pretty much how to install it, what kind of errors will get it, where to keep data files, where to keep log files, what are all the terms and conditions, what are all the prerequisites. There are a lot of interview questions you will get it on this part today. I hope I told you more than 5 to 10 questions, almost 5 to 10, close to 10 questions today. I think so. I'm not pretty sure, but I think so. More than 5.
Yeah.
So these questions, what you need to do, you need to make it these questions in your book, in your white paper.
Okay.
Then only you can able to prepare while going for the interview.
Okay.
Pretty clear?
Yeah, clear. ఇంకా నాకు ఏదైనా డౌట్ ఉన్నా ఇప్పుడు రేపు ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ పార్ట్ మీద మన